Code of the Knight is an ideal of honor that emphasizes on the concept of bravery, loyalty, and generosity. Over the generations, the idea of the Knight usually stays with this code, making hundreds of versions of Knights in all of media.
But some Knights take the idea and give it a magical twist, while devoting to save and or protect the ones they care for most.
Like Shovel Knight, the blue armored bearer of Shovelry.
And Erza Scarlet, Fairy Tail's S-Class Knight Fairy Queen.
He's Demon and Knight Marcher.
And it's our job to analyze these characters to their fullest, going through their feats and faults, to see what happens when these two fictional characters collide.
Our tale begins with a duo of knights who go across the land gathering riches to their heart's desire. Life was as best it can be for them where nothing bad can truly happen.
But
here it comes.
But during their last adventure, the one known as Shield Knight was getting close to this strange amulet and the collapse of a tower leading to her death. Yeah, death, let's go with that. But after never being able to find her for a while and the tower closed up, the other knights set down their weapon and basically went to do whatever, I guess. Looks like farming, I don't care. Giving up the ways of adventure. But that's when the beings known as the Order of No Quarter appeared across the land, led by a new woman named the Enchantress, stating they will take over the land for themselves and a new era of darkness will begin.
So the Knight in Blue picks up his weapon and sets off to save the day and hopefully gain answers to his lost knight love disappearance, bringing back the legend of the Shovel Knight.
Okay, he might look a little bit dorky, but don't judge this armored shovel bearer for his size. The dude is packing a lot to save the land from these knights, and he does so with his all-trusty shovel blade in his hand. With it, he can slash enemies, destroy great chunks of land, and with a simple swipe, it can even fall from the sky with a downward thrust with his shovel bounce.
Alongside that, he can gain the ability to send a projectile that goes on the ground if his enemies are too far, or even charge up a powerful swing to do massive damage. But his shovel isn't the only thing this guy has. Over his adventure, Shovel Knight has gained quite the arsenal of weaponry. With the Flare Wand, he can shoot fireballs at his enemies. The Chaos Spears do bouncy, piercing damage, and if he needs to get somewhere far, he has the Propeller Dagger to sword while also doing small amounts of damage.
The mobile gear can be used for transport, but also has a long-range attack. The Throwing Anchor can be used for hard-to-reach enemies by Shovel Knight tossing a literal anchor at them. From my all-time favorites, the powerful Warhorn. With this bad boy, the second Shovel Knight blows into it does massive area damage, killing all normal enemies like so.
Wait, no! But that's not all he has on him. During his travels, he has gotten multiple different sets of armors and all variety of different abilities. With stuff like Conjurer's Cloak, he gains more use of magic in total. Mail of Momentum makes sure he isn't knocked back as hard from attacks. And then there's the beautiful Ornate Plate, which is just very beautiful. Look at him. Look at him go with those flips. He's just flipping around and doesn't care. Not one care in the world.
But there's two more very special armors this guy has in him. With the Armor of Chaos he got from Kratos, the god of fucking war. Yes, I'm not making that shit up. With this, he gets something similar to the Blades of Chaos that does multi-attacking combos with his shovel over the usual one swing. It makes all forms of magic into orbs that come to him. Nice touch. And lastly, he gets the Toad gear from the Battle Toads. You know, those funny frogs. Oh, so riveting. But then he gets a multi-hit combo, but just like the Toads, his body can change, like when he rams his horns turns into familiar ram horns, or how he can extend his shovel size now for much bigger damage.
I guess if you have enough cash, you can make anyone appear in your games for exposure, huh? Might take note of that, actually.
Doesn't help he's basically everywhere. I mean, look at all these cameos. This is just a bit obsessive, man.
Agreed, but when he doesn't need a new armor to protect himself, he always has a Trouble Chalice, which gives 3 different effects, like immune to all damage for around 10 seconds, or even one that can fully replenish his heart and magic to full. Kinda needs it since this guy loves overusing his already pretty limited magic pool for his much better relics.
And with this massive arsenal, it's no surprise the stuff this small knife can do. This guy has taken out dragons, giant mechs, the entire Order of No Quarter, and even survived the small meteor coming at him during Black Knight's weird winged fight. Given it took the meteor to come right after Black Knight lifted a shovel to be around 2 seconds at most, and given the size being compared to Shovel Knight's 5'5" size, we can figure out this meteor is around 9.5 feet long.
Now, giving the benefit of the doubt that the meteor is a full meteor and not a small piece of one, this means Shovel Knight can take a hit at around nearly 95 kiloton. That's enough to destroy a whole town on its own, and Shovel Knight was tanking them like nothing. And funny enough, Shovel Knight can also dodge these meteors. Even if we use the same numbers, this means he's moving at around 99,763 meters per second, hitting massively hypersonic.
Which isn't too surprising when the guy can dodge cannonball fire and fight beings like the lovable Baz himself. Ah, look at that man, so majestic. This guy can conjure lightning to him as a way of attacking, and even Phantom Striker. He's not just able to turn into, but also fire balls of lightning.
So who cares if the little guy isn't the brightest and has a highly limited small amount of magic, and like any Shovel Knight player who loves to spam their items to waste it. It's kinda why he adds to the challenge to fully refill it. But after all of this, he met up with the Enchantress and defeated her, only to realize the truth that I'm sure no one totally saw coming. The Enchantress is Shield Knight herself, influenced by dark magic.
And after getting out of that castle and being laid down by a fire, Shovel Knight was finally reunited with his love once again, ready to sit by the fire like good old times.
Ah, the land of yore, the land of hope, opportunity, magic, guilds!
And a whole lot of fan service. But in the southern coast of Magnolia Town, a house once special guild known as the Fairy Tale Guild. Among them lied many members of high status. You might remember a few of them like Natsu Dragonil or Grateful Buster.
Weren't they on the show way before I was even here?
We don't talk about that area, you hear me?
Okay then. Now deep within a nice town called Rosemary Village, nothing seemed to really affect them. A place of peace, tranquility, and
oh look, a bunch of crazy people are attacking the village and capturing all the kids to make a giant machine to resurrect their own evil god. Now there was always one rebellious new slave out there, and her name was Erza. So the people did the most reasonable thing. They basically butchered one of her eyes as punishment.
After an experience like that, she met a fellow kid named Jalal who then befriended her and even gave her a last name, Scarlet, just like her scarlet red hair. Cute, actually.
And right after escaping and losing her newfound friend from the island, she soon found herself in the Fairy Tale Guild, meeting up with some certain people we talked about before, becoming the S-ranked armored magic user herself, Erza Scarlet.
Now, as a member of the Fairy Tale Guild, she needed a form of magic. You see, magic in Fairy Tale can be vastly different based on the person. Some can make ice, fire, change their physical appearance, or even summon fighters to aid them in battle.
But Erza goes with my favorite, being the re-equipped magic, more specifically the Knight version, where she can conjure up basically anything she wants from a magical armory. Swords, spears, axes, you name it. And this isn't even her most iconic use of re-equipped magic.
Erza is one of the very few who can conjure up different armors at any time for situations, vastly changing her based on the armor.
My personal favorite is the most basic of armors, the Heart's Quartz armor. But then her actual crazy stuff is like her Heaven's Wheel armor, which gives her flight and can summon raining swords. The Black Wing armor makes her look like a dragon and even includes cool wings.
She has armors for fire, water, and lightning that can let her conjure up these certain elements and can help her be semi-immune to these elements as well. And then Demon's actual favorite, the Giantess armor.
Whoa, I have no idea what you mean. Why would I like that one the most?
Uh-huh. With this, she grows to great size and can hold this giant spear. Then there's her Adamantine armor, is basically a spiky perfect defense. Then Purgatory just looks cool, I guess. Armadura Fairy armor is said to be her strongest armor, but we'll get back to that. With this, she can shoot magical energy blasts from the sword and looks very pink. Her Clear Heart's clothing strips her down greatly, which cuts down her defense for benefit of maximum power all at once. Then there's the Seduction oh my.
Yeah, this is the fan service stuff we were talking about. And while she has a couple of other miscellaneous armors, the best one's no doubt is her magic-cutting Nakagami armor. Like I said, this armor along with its spear is able to dispatch other magical abilities and attacks. Also, it just looks badass too. Oh wait, also that's another major fan service outfit, 0 out of 10 Archer Bad series, not gonna lie.
Quite. That actually leads up to how powerful Erza is then. Like the time she is able to slice a bullet point blank or to scale to one of her usual punching bags. Natsu Dragneel, who can dodge Laxus's own literal lightning attacks. Two burly men this episode who can summon lightning. What a coincidence, actually.
But she really isn't a speedster character. Erza focuses on her extreme might and will to protect her friends and loved ones from all danger. Like this one time after being fully depleted of magic and with a broken arm, busted this giant flicking meteor. Now, given that the meteor is around 148 feet, which would make it about 283 pounds, for Erza to fully decimate a meteor that grand would need an equivalent of around 93 kilotons of TNT, enough to destroy a town.
But remember this, Demon, that wasn't even her at her best. So let's go check out what she has done, like her fight against Erza Nightwalker, another universe version of herself. Trust me, it's a lot less weird with context. When they collided, they caused this large island to explode. If we take this as size of a usual island, which would make this explosion near 4 gigatons of TNT, and Erza was one of the people in the middle of it.
But even all that armor does have a few cracks on it. Like how she does have a finite amount of magic, which can leave her basically weaponless or armorless. She doesn't have a lot of actual training, it is more self-taught, and she has a habit of going down to something like her clear heart clothing to lower her usual defense.
We still have to be nuts to go against the Fairy Tail Guild's own Fairy Queen. She will do anything for her friends no matter what, even if it means you aren't leaving the fight alive.
If you truly desire greatness, you must first know what makes you weak. And more importantly, live with an open heart.
Okay, the combatants are set, let's settle this.
Will Shovel Knight dig Erza's grave, or will Erza get a fairy tale ending?
Time for these two fictional characters to collide. Well, you could say that was a split decision there, if you get what I mean.
These two magical knights were impressive, especially at the start. Comparing both Shovel Knights and Erza's meteor feats only, Shovel Knight barely edges out with a 1.1 times strength difference, and both could easily scale to beings who can dodge or make lightning, giving them both are around similar levels of movement and reaction capabilities. And given Shovel Knight was trained in his style of fighting while Erza was mainly just self-taught, the Knight of Shovelry could have won if this was all that was needed.
But there is more to the debate. Like remember, that meteor feat was Erza at a weakened state. So what was her max weakened to realistically? Well, let's go back to that 4 gigaton feat, which would make her hundreds of times stronger than the poor blue armored knight.
And let's not forget their magic pool. While both do have a finite amount, Erza is usually a lot more cautious with it and uses it for more tactical advantages over her opponent, while Shovel Knight... yeah.
Also, while Shovel Knight's arsenal and stupid crossover gear is wacky and unpredictable, Erza's own sub is a lot more convenient and useful, mainly that Nakagami armor being able to basically dispatch all of Shovel Knight's trinkets at the start, since that's what the armor is built for. So all she has to do is get that bad boy on and Shovel Knight is stuck with a lot of useless junk. Yeah, his Battletoads armor and the others aren't magic needed, but his stuff like the face amulet is, meaning he can't really use it to phase through a fatal blow.
The Shovel Knight can definitely hold their own for a short while at the start. He just couldn't match the S-Class Mage's more destructive power, unbeatable defense, magic stopping armor, and much larger and longer lasting pool of magic. You could say that he came up a bit short.
Oh, Archer, give the guy a break. At least Erza decided to meet him halfway.
The winner is Erza Scarlet.